Hello, everybody. It's already August, and we are here, Wednesday, 2nd of August. And good to have you all here with us. Today's topic it is a good part of everything. So, this conversation here was inspired by message number 32 from the book Living Spring. We do have this book in English, so you can buy it through Amazon. Uh, and It's a wonderful book. Was dictated by the Spirit Emmanuel and was psychographed by Chico Xavier. Again, uh, the title of the message is A Good Part. Message number 32, book Living Spring. Thank God I'm not alone. I have these two friends here supporting me here. So that's the good part. See, I always have a good part. And let's then talk to us. So good evening, Miss Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
I'm very well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Nice. Forgive me. Nice to be with you again. Apologies. And, we are sort of being flooded because there's so much rain today. And it's been raining quite a lot. But all is well. And hopefully everyone is well. Today we're going to talk about something that's actually a very important subject, something that we all should think about and meditate on, because it's how sometimes, we behave in relation to other people. So it's always a nice, good reminder. And hope that is going to be nice today. So, boa tarde a todos, bom dia, onde quer que você esteja, um grande abraço. Estamos aqui novamente e hoje um tema bem especial que a gente precisa meditar sobre ele para ver como a gente se comporta, às vezes, em relação a outras pessoas. Então, bem-vindos a todos e vamos ter uma boa reunião. Ok, thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Stevan. Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here again with my two colleagues and all of you who are joining us live and also in replay to talk about this subject, the good part of everything. There are a lot of bad things happening, but if we look more carefully to all what is happening, there is always some good which is coming out of it, and it's somehow sometimes a driver of the progress of the whole humanity. So that's what we will try to clarify today. Bonjour, bonsoir à tous. Heureux d'être là parmi vous ce soir. On va parler du bon côté des choses, et puis du fait que du mal découle toujours le bien. Et donc, on va essayer de vous expliquer ces notions avec la lumière de la philosophie spirit.
Thank you. Merci, Charles. So, as usual, I will show our video. And just before we watch the video, the first time I when I look at the video, I said, no, doesn't fit with our topic. But then after reflection, I say, yeah, this fits. And when we talk later, let me share here. Okay, so let's go.
There's a word in the English language that seems taboo or scary, or at least seems a little bit frightening. People don't like to talk about it. It's the word vulnerability. I really think it scares us. It scares people. More so than the word. Can you imagine being vulnerable, putting yourself out there for people to judge you, not like you, or even say bad things about you? Well, I had this experience I didn't know what to do in that moment. You know what I mean? It was a regular day. My shift as a clinical nurse had a patient come in through the ER, and she had attempted suicide. And apparently, when the paramedics got to her place and resuscitated her and woke her up, well, that pissed her off to high heaven. So she was belligerent in the ER, and all of the other ICU nurses blatantly threw up their hand and said, "I don't want her." I said, "Well, come on, bring it on. Let's see how I can help her, what I can do in that particular situation." So I did just that. But by the time she came up to see me, she wasn't talking. She didn't want to talk to any of the nurses. She sure as heck didn't want to talk to any of the physicians. But what happened next has stayed with me ever since. I walked into her room. She laid on her bed silent. So I sat there on the edge of her bed, which is, to be quite honest with you, it's not common for me, being trained here in the US, to get so intimate with the patient. And intimate, I considered sitting on the bed, in her hospital bed. But as I sat there, truly not knowing what else to do, we sat there for a few moments in silence, and I just grasped at words in my mind. What do I say to someone? What is her story? Why would she, what brought her here? So as I sat there talking to her, I tried to understand her and hear her perspective. So she proceeded to tell me about her life. She proceeded to tell me she had been living with HIV, by this time AIDS, 25 years at that point. She said, "Kirsten, I'm just tired. I'm just tired of always having to explain myself. Every time I make a new friend and I get to that point where I want to trust them, where I feel like we've reached that level of friendship, where I want to tell them majority of the time, do you know what happens, Kirsten? I get two looks. A deep look of pity or a look of disgust. Do you know what that's like? Do you know what that's like for 20 some years? Every new friend that I make, I have to explain myself. I have to explain that because when I was 21 years old, I made a huge mistake. I was an idiot and had a one night stand. And because of that, I live every day wondering, will this cold be the end of me? Is this week going to be the week where things go bad for me? I'm just tired, she said. I'm just tired. I didn't know what to say. She started crying, and it was the most gut-wrenching cry. It seemed like her soul was releasing something that I had never encountered before in my life. Well, so I sat there and held her hand, and I didn't know what else to do but to cry with her, to be honest. I wanted her to know that I knew that she was an HIV counselor, and I knew through her history that she had done so much good, and that for all the lives she had saved, other people from the brink of suicide, she still had so many other lives to save. So in that moment, I learned something about being vulnerable and how good it is to realize that you can put yourself out there, learning to be okay with yourself and learning to be okay that other people might judge you. But you're being vulnerable and you're being true to who you are. It encourages other people to do the same, because that's what this young woman did for me in that moment. I learned that there is courage in vulnerability and just being who you are and being okay with that. And then if you trip and fall along the way and you find yourself feeling down or alone, reach out to someone and teach someone else what you've learned in your life and keep on going.
Okay, sorry, it's a little bit long video, but I think it after a reflection here fits with our topic today, because we are here to say a good part of everything. After a day of raining like in UK right now, we will have a sunny day. After a wildfire, we will have a new forest. So everything has an explanation. Everything have a why. And most of the times we don't understand this why. It's very tough for us. Not because we are not smart enough to understand it, it's because sometimes it's beyond our knowledge. It's beyond our way to see the world, to see things how it works. But always we do have something better with us. Just recall the video. She said that that woman who attempted suicide, she was a HIV counselor and she saved so many lives. That's the good part. And what we do, we concentrate ourselves in that part. Doesn't matter how many lives you saved. If you fail in one, you're not good enough. This is something we needed to revert. We needed to see more good news instead of bad news. We need to see the cup half full instead of half empty. This is my introduction for our talk today. And let's start with Charles. Why we do have a good part of ourselves, Charles?
Yes, so a good question. Let me try to reflect a little bit how to approach it. We know that we all have been created by the Creator. Simple and ignorant. Ignorant meaning without knowledge. Okay. But something we have in us is a potential for progress. And this potential is infinite, means we progress until to reach, for me, of course, it will be very far, a long time from now, but to reach perfection, to reach the level of pure spirits. So I think in our potential, fundamentally, at the root of ourselves, we have this good part, which is this potential to grow, to learn, to become better, indefinitely. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, of course, particularly in the world we are living, particularly nowadays with the news and sensationalist newspapers and so on, we are somehow in a certain way harassed by bad news, isn't it? We see only the bad things, the bad aspect of everyone. We see only the horrible things. I tell only, it's maybe a little bit exaggerated. Sometimes you see good things as well, but majority of things we see are the bad things, the wrong things, or the evil things. And this is really putting us in serious doubt. There have been so many bad things happening these last centuries, World War, and so on. And this, in a certain way, fed the skepticism. The people saying humankind is not good, is evil. With all these horrors that happened with the Second World War, with the Holocaust, and so on, cannot be that there is something good in humankind. And the people really started strongly to doubt. But we should think a little bit more, because we see, and it's in particular this law of destruction that we can find in the Spirit's book, book 3rd, chapter 6, if I remember, of chapter 5, if I remember well. We see that all these things happen in reality to make us advance and progress more quickly. It's a case of COVID, for instance. It was a huge trial, very difficult. We lost a lot of liberty, took a long time. A lot of people lost their mean of work for sustainability of the family and so on. So it was very difficult. Nevertheless, when we see, it helped us a lot in order to stop. Okay, hold on, let me think about. And a lot of people really took reflection on their life and changed a lot of things in terms of changed of job, changed of way to see the world, started to look into some other concepts like spiritism. I know quite some people who started reading about spiritist teachings during the COVID. So we can see that behind this, behind all these evil things, as you told at the beginning, Stevan, there is good things coming out. It's always when you have huge crises that the more courageous reforms are being done. WW2 has been followed by installment of European community, for instance. France and Germany, for instance, were enemies since centuries. And nowadays, we just cross the border, they are friends, they are brothers like us. So we can see that from that lesson, which was horrible in the Second World War, for instance, but the result has gone in taking conscience of these wrong things and having in ourselves this will for never again. Let's do whatever we can so that these things will never again happen. Of course, everything is far from being perfect. There are still wars very close from here, Ukraine and Russia. And there is still a lot of problems to be solved. But from this lesson we have seen, we see that it is when we are facing difficulties that we progress the quickest. That this good part which is in us is flourishing quicker and helping us to get on the right track. So that is what I would like to say to introduce the subject.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yes, that's the good part. And Silvia, why? Not why. That is not a question why, but what is the message when we say after a storm there is always a sunny day? What's this message means? How can I put my coins in this message and try to look for the good part?
Wow. Well, yes. That is also that expression. Every cloud has a silver lining, which is similar. Because no matter how much tragedy, everything passes, everything moves on, everything goes forward. And there are days that are very difficult, that are very challenging for us, and some other days are easier, are happier. We know that some people have lives that are a lot harder than ours. But everything has its time. Everything has its place. I think if one of the important things that Spiritism teaches us is that everything has a purpose. Nothing is lost. If sometimes, we have very hard things happening in our life, difficulties. Some people seem to have difficulties from the moment they are born, difficult families and all that kind of thing. And many times, how horrible, they are suffering so much. And one of the things that sometimes, yes, we come in families that are going to be challenging for us because we have something to learn. Also, in the past, we may have done to those people things that hurt them. So without unconsciously, without knowing, they almost retributing, giving us back what we gave them. But with very exceptions, most of the situations that we go through before we incarnate, we actually ask for it because we wanted to readdress wrongs from the past. Because reincarnation in Spiritism, we know that there is no punishment, it's readdressing wrongs that we've done in the past. We're not being punished, and we cannot judge a situation or someone by the way they look, because it's, of course, you can't deny that a lot of problems and situations that are very difficult and are hard, and people in situations of illness and all that they are in a way readdressing past wrongs, but not all the time. Sometimes they are very superior spirits who have chosen to come in a situation like that because they are helping the people around them. They themselves could be maybe in the stars, but they choose to help us. So you can never judge for what we see. And of course, there is always a lesson learned. And I think the situations can be difficult or they can be horrible. And it depends how we see them. If we start cursing and saying how unhappy and how God doesn't love us, and everybody else is happy, and there's horrible things only happen to us. And I think this is very much situation that quite a few of us have this tendency of doing, and I cannot be exempt from that at times. But that's is not always true. We choose to come in certain situations because we want to learn certain lessons. Say for instance, someone who have never lost a loved one, someone who goes through life, they have their parents, their families, and they never learn empathy when someone is crying or feeling sad because they lost a father or a mother, or they've lost a child. And I think some of the situations that are hard and difficult for us as well is so that we learn empathy. I think Charles, at the beginning of his comment, he said that the spirit is, when we are created simple and without knowledge, ignorant of everything. And everything that we do, we actually build it. It's given to us to learn those things. And so we're learning empathy, we're learning forgiveness, we are learning to be more tolerant, we'll be learning to be more loving. And I think if we go back to the message that you said inspired this talk today, wonderful, Emmanuel, I think he's my father, because I absolutely adore Emmanuel. And I read his things all the time, because always, never, ever once I've read something that didn't actually teach me something or answer the question that I have. And I think one of the things he says here is, the good part, that every single person, every single creature has something good in them. And sort of reminded me a quote that I read many years ago of Abraham Lincoln, that he said, when you look for the good in people, you will find it. So I think if you think you're going to find something good in someone, you will find it. They'll be there, because our attitude towards it will be already open to see something good, because we all have both sides. There are days that maybe we do things that someone who doesn't know us may think, God, what a horrible person. One day that we were tired, we were upset, or something had happened, we were feeling, one of those difficult that weighs so heavy on us. And we may give an answer that's a bit rude, or we behave in a way that's inconsiderate. And for someone who doesn't know us, you say, God, that person is not very nice, but they don't know the other side of us, the side that is good, is considerate, is loving. And I think that's what he says, it doesn't... don't judge other people just by the appearance, because he makes that he says something here in the message, that there is good things in everything, in every person, and in everything, and that the fire that destroys also purifies, and the stone, the rock that's hard to break, sometimes can be a consolidation or something. We need foundations for things, and even things that the wind and the heavy rain, but brings something good. So there is always something good on that. And I think that, first of all, it's for us to have hope of it, that things will get better, and also to learn that thing, that Jesus taught us so much in his teachings. Love your neighbors yourself, do to others as you wish they would do unto you. And this is exactly that. Try to see the good part in someone. I know that sometimes it's very hard. I mean, there are people, I think, I don't know if you or Charles mentioned it, about the news. I think it was Charles, that sometimes we get overwhelmed by the news that we hear. But on the other hand, we never hear the good news. There are nice things happening. There are good people helping each other. Recently I was just reading about some of the British tourists that were stranded in Rhodes, and they had to run away from their hotels, wherever they were, and just leave everything behind. They practically went away with their own clothes. And they said how the people in the island came and gave them food and gave them water and sheltered them. Because they didn't have any clothes, anything, they were frightened. And some of the other people in the village went back to the hotels and tried to get their clothes and their things to them. So I think, some of the things, when life is the hardest, is when people are the goodest. Somehow, there is always someone who will be really kind and go out of their way. And I think that's hopeful. And that's what the message is telling, that person who today maybe is doing something evil today, tomorrow will be someone who will be reaching out to you with a glass of water, will be helping you, teaching you how to be a better person. Because I think when we go down to the deepest of the worst that we can be, there is only one way, is the way up. And as the Spirit's book tells us, when Kardec asked the spirits, so everyone will be enlightened, and the answer of the Spirit was, it's your destiny. So, even the people that we consider the evil, one day they will be good. And because they've been to hell, they probably will be the hardest workers. They'll be the ones who will come back again and again and again and reincarnate again in the worst circumstances to help other people. So I hope that we'll be able to do that ourselves, and we don't know. We might have been that, because, we all have many, many lives behind us and certain situations, and that now we are learning new lessons, because every time we learn new lessons. So I think, there is always hope, and a lesson to learn: never judge by the appearance. Try to see beyond everything, as we want opportunity, other people deserve the same. I don't know if I answer your question. I went to too many tangents,
you
but
answer,
I
yes.
think that's
You answer.
the feeling.
Yeah, it is, because it's always difficult for ourselves. Like, for example, I try to do a kind of exercise. Try to keep thinking about good things all day. We cannot do it. We will fail some stage. But this is a kind of exercise we need to do every day. This is a kind of exercise we need to try to put ourselves at least in a trial mode. We do have a lot of reasons to be bored, like is it war, it is starvation, it is heat waves, it is now economy downturn. So all these things, yes, there is. But remember, all these is consequences of our actions. And when we understand that we are the main character, instead of blaming the poor Jesus or the poor God because they are punishing me, and I switch this to, wow, I'm suffering because of my actions. This is happening because I did that or I did it. This is the silver lining point, in which you will stop complaining and being in a victim position to an executor position, because you are the one who put yourself in this situation, and you are the one who gonna take you out of this. Nobody else. And saying that, Charles, uh, every time when we talk about the good part, always come up to our mind that that passage in the Bible when Jesus went to the house of Maria and Martha. Can you comment something about this passage, please? You're on mute, Charles.
Yes, so this Luke 10:42. So when we look Luke 10:40, so Jesus came into a small village and has been invited by Martha for having a dinner or spend the night or whatever. And Martha had a young sister called Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And this passage is quite interesting because Jesus entered in the house and started to give his teachings. And Martha, she was of course busy for preparing the lunch and making with the helping people in her house, having how to say to prepare everything for Jesus to be received. And then at a given point in time, when she saw that his sister was just sitting beside Jesus and hearing to the teaching of Jesus, Martha, which was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made, she came and asked Jesus, "Hey, Jesus, can't you not take care that my sister can come to me and help me in the duties?" And that is exactly then when Jesus gave this answer. He answered, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things. You are busy with a lot of things, but few things are needed. Or in other words, make it simple. Or indeed, only one. And Mary, she has chosen what is better, and this will need the best out of it, and this will not be taken away from her." So the context is quite okay. Just simplify all the material things, make it easy, and go to the essential, which are the spiritual things. So this is the spiritual teachings. This is the real lesson Jesus has given. And this is exactly what you have to do in ourselves. Let's not be bothered with all this material stuff running like crazy to get more salary or to get more goods or to consume, to have a better car, to have this, to have that, to have a lot of things, by the way, which are not indispensable, which are superfluous. Whilst during all this effort we are doing for the superfluous, we leave aside what is more essential. And the more essential is, as we have told that from the beginning, the evolution of our soul, to get out from this simple and ignorant state and to acquire knowledge and also goodness, morality. And this, as you just told, Stevan, needs everyday work to work on ourselves, to know ourselves, to know what are our defects, what are our problems, and to work to make our efforts through our will to reduce these how to say bad things we still have in us, and to replace them little by the good things. For instance, to work against excessive pride and to exchange it, to transform it somehow into humility. So this is what is the most important, what is the good part, what is the essential part of everyone we have to focus on in our lives. But unfortunately, we are here in the matter. Of course, this has some advantages. We need to work, we need to make efforts to sustain ourselves, to sustain our family, to take care of us, take care of this bodily instrument that has been given to us temporarily for this life, so that we make best use of it as long as possible in this life. But we never shall forget the essential goal, which is our evolution.
Great. Yeah. The key thing is here is the evolution. The key thing is evolution. The key thing here, it is the concept of reincarnation. When we die, it's not the end, my friends. It's not the end. And when we think that, okay, this is just a stage of my life, things start to change.
And Jesus said, the good part, nobody will take away from us.
Yeah.
What we have acquired in evolution, nobody will take it away from us. Whilst all what is material, we will leave it here. Nobody will take it away from us. We simply will leave it here because we will go back to the spiritual world without anything which is material. And this we are 100% sure, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see what Miss Gibbons have to say. What do you think, my dear?
Well, yes, I think that's an important part that Charles mentioned about the story because, Jesus said that will not be taken away from her, and that's the knowledge that we acquire, our understanding, those things we are going to take with us when we leave this physical body and return to the spiritual world, which is our home. Those things and it stays with us, everything we learn. And this is very important because sometimes we concentrate too much in the material, in the world, what we have, the struggles that we make to have more and more and more, when we could live with a lot less, and it this kind of understanding that sometimes doesn't come to us because we live in a society that's so such a consumer. You have to buy, you have to do this, and forever being flashed things. And we ended up buying a lot of things and even giving things for people that they don't need or don't want. But, we seem to be surrounded by lots of things. And that's one of the things that we are going to leave. And I think one of the things that Jesus said, also, where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. And honestly, we don't want to leave our heart with the gold and whatever you have. That because we wanted to be free to go to the spiritual world and return there, learning. And I think, also knowing about kindness, forgiveness, all these things that weigh quite a lot in our lives, and makes our life happier and better while we're still here. Because one of the things, the main aim, I think, of learning about the teachings of Jesus, and it's universal teachings. You find it in every single religion in the planet. It's universal. Love your God and love your neighbors yourself. Treat others the way you want to be treated. This is so basic in every single. But one of the things that for me anyway is to learn about these concepts and these teachings and everything, because I'm a Christian, so I base myself very much in the teachings of Jesus, is that it's not for us to, when we die we go to heaven, but it's that we build heaven on earth, because the kingdom of heaven exists within ourselves, and we take it with us. And I think that that's one of the things we need to learn, that the heaven or hell lives within us. And if we are considerate, if we are loving to people, it's funny, other people will do the same. And they see the example, will do a little bit. And it doesn't mean that, you have to give all your fortune, whatever. But sometimes, not judging or discriminating anyone, but I was reading the other day that someone had spent £12,000 having an operation to look like a dog. And he was going to go into the street for the first time and everything. And you think, my God, this money they have these little children who are born with this cleft, with cleft mouth. And it costs so little to have an operation. He could have given the money to so many people to, so they could be perfect and have a life. It's not a question of being perfect and beautiful, but to be able to have a life. And sometimes our values are so screwed, so completely different. And I think that's what we need to learn: the kindness, a loving word. You go to the street sometimes and you see people and they are so, their faces are so hard. And I don't, I don't know if I smile all the time anyway, but I often see people looking at me and smiling because I think I sort of go around like as if I'm smiling all the time because, I'm cheerful. And I think some people respond, and it's funny when they come with that very strong, and then suddenly they look at you and most of them will smile. Others will look even uglier, but and I think that's sort of a treasure, what we learn. I think that's what Mary was learning at the feet of Jesus, the lessons. And we have his lessons, but we learn from each other as well, because we see someone being kind to someone, inspire us to be kind too. And I'm sure if someone sees us being kind, we will inspire them to be kind to others. So I think it's a chain, isn't it? That the good we create grows. And so we need to concentrate. And every little thing matters. We can't change the world, but we can change a little bit of ourselves, a little bit of our, around us. And the good will grow. It's a good seed to grow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we say, every little helps.
It, it does, every little. Do the small things. St. David, the patron saint of Wales, used to say, do the small things. Because the small things are the things we can do.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Anyway. So, we need to know we have our part. We need to always look for the bright side. But we need also to understand that the downside help us a lot. We need this downside. We need the downside to give credits. So, like there is a music, we only miss the sun when there is snow. We only miss home when we are on the road. And while we are home, we don't give any value to my shelter, my bed. Like Charlie said, during the COVID, was terrible. Yes, of course it was. But what the lessons we learned, even though we stopped practicing it, we learn how to share, how to live collectively, respecting the others, supporting the others. We saw all this during that time. But now looks to people, everybody forget about it. No, everybody forgot about it. But we need this. We need those moments. We cannot live 24/7 on those moments. So we need now also to recover ourselves. I don't know. What do you think, Charles?
Yes, to
It's
build
too
on what
it's
you
too much bad things in our news today.
to build on what you just said, there is a message from the spirits in the Gospel according to Spiritism, where the spirits say, evil is still needed on your world in order to make goodness felt. Night in order to be able to admire light, as you just thought by the song. Sickness to be able to appreciate health.
Yeah.
And so this is really a good teaching. And it is through these difficulties, through sicknesses, for instance, that we learn. Through this type of trial, we learn, okay, what did I do to got sick? And then avoid to do it. What did I find out as a remedy or as a medicine to solve the problem? You know, the COVID, the vaccine have been developed in a record time. So it is part of the learning. When everything goes well, nobody will make efforts, no needed efforts. But when the things are getting harder, then we need to do efforts. And maybe I'm repeating a little bit, but with all these difficulties which are coming now, Silvia just told it's raining like hell. Here again, it was a storm. The trees were a lot of wind, something like 100 kilometers per hour, very inland. On the shore, you can have this, but here inland, it's very seldom, in particularly beginning of August. So all these things will multiply. It will be more and more difficult, and this will challenge us to prevent, to get conscience that we need to do something now to prevent, to reduce our consumption, to have more sustainable way of living in food, in energy consumption, whatever. This is to prevent, and second, to make such that this to be able to live with these difficulties, because these difficulties are giving flooding, are destroying some cultures in the field and so on. We will have to review a lot of things, and all these difficulties which are coming will challenge us more and more. And we have the science already today to know exactly what will happen. We had already the examples, and we know exactly that these things will multiply. So, okay, let's take the challenge. Let's wake up and do whatever we need to prevent and to prepare the world of regeneration of tomorrow. Of course, we are here in a material world, in a material body. So we need to how to say, to feed, to earn money, and so on. So there's nothing wrong in that. But these things to avoid us slipping into the excesses. God, in his infinite intelligence, has made such that the resources of our planet are limited. Okay, so we will have to live with limited resources, and we have consumed. Today, by the way, is 2nd of August. I don't know if you have seen. Today is the day where, average in the world, we have consumed all the resources our planet is able to recover, to sustain in a full year. 2nd of August, which is month 8, we have eaten in 2/3 of the time. So the rest third of the year, we live on credit. Okay, so we are consuming things that our children, our grandchildren, ourselves, when we will reincarnate as the sons of our grandchildren, will not have anymore. So we are entering in this situation and these difficulties. So this will help us. The fact that the matter is not abundant and indefinite as it was, it will somehow force us to change of paradigm and to enter in, go out of this materialist and consumerist paradigm and to go into a more spiritualist paradigm. And that will be really the beginning of the world of regeneration. We will be forced to go
Yeah.
there because without these shortages in resources, no one will change anything. We only change when the resource is not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the reality.
Yeah. Ms.
But we have the
Gibbons.
good part in us which will make us change, and we have the solution already to overcome all these difficulties.
Yeah. Ms. Gibbons.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think that this is interesting because, when I was a child in my grandmother's house, they would never go out to buy any vegetables or any fruits or anything. Everything was it. She didn't have a huge place, but she had a special place, and all the vegetables, everything. And I think most of the people had. Now, I mean, especially here in England, I remember used to be gardens. People had gardens, they would plant things. But now, even here, it's becoming very much like Brazil. People cut their garden to put a place for their car, which was here. They never did this, but now it's so common. You go to places where used to be a beautiful garden, near here was a small little garden that people used to live there. And I remember one day going to work and I stopped because it was so beautiful, all the flowers and the way they had done it. And now they probably moved, they were an elderly couple. And the people who are living now, they cut the garden and put a place to park their car. And every time I pass by there, I think I can't believe that one morning, as I turned, I stopped because I was completely taken by the beauty of the place. And now it's a park car full of rubbish, And I think this is one of the things as well that we need to change, to go back to that thing, using a little bit to plant things. And actually so beautiful, isn't it? There is this French chef who lives here in England, and he's had this incredible hotel when in the country. And the place is surrounded by gardens, but he plants fruits and vegetables there. And some of the vegetables are incredibly beautiful, So it is a garden who produces food. And I think that's one of the things we need to start changing, growing our own tomatoes, because then we don't have to import from the other side of the world. Isn't it? I mean, I think probably in France is a lot better in relation to food and everything. But it's all things that we needed to, sort of remember how things were, and also to learn to appreciate things as we are leaving them. Recently, somebody said to me, she was making a comment and, talking about this person. Oh, she was always, her house was always open, was always fun. And she was so kind and everything. Oh, I wish I had enjoyed that more, because now we don't find anyone, and I was thinking about, yes, how many times we are in a beautiful place and in a nice place where you are well received and everything, and you just take for granted, and then you don't find it anymore. So, I wish, the way she said, I wish I had appreciated more what I had then, and I think something to think about, to enjoy and appreciate the things, even the difficult times, because those are the ones who give substance to our lives. Is the moments that we have to dig in ourselves and see and get it out, and to survive certain things, to overcome certain things. And those are the times that really sustains us. So lots to learn.
A lot to learn. Yeah, exactly. And we have to learn.
And be grateful as well. We needed to be grateful. I think
For
sometimes we are
everything.
not grateful.
Be grateful, even though for now the bad things happen to us.
Even the rain, you have to be grateful for the rain because of the grass. That we've been having a lot of rain here. So the grass is completely green. It's really beautiful. And I can remember a couple of years ago, it was completely dry. We thought the grass would go forever. So, I'm grateful for the rain too.
Great. I think we are over our time, but it was a good, very good
Yes.
discussion. Thank you, Marco, for being here with us today. Let me go very quickly here to our announcements. So, next week, is there a heaven, a hell, and a purgatory? Interesting topic as well. So, let's talk about it. It's 9th of August, 9 p.m. London time. We'll be here. The psychology study. So just look at our friend Fabrício Assunção. Every Saturday we do have the Medium's book study with Charles Munir and Guilherme Dias. It's 10:30 a.m. London time. Every Monday, Ebony Paris, she holds a study on the book Astral City, Nosso Lar, at 8 p.m. London time. And every other Tuesday, Faye Waddington and Rafael Caldas, they have a conversation on mediumship, 8:30 p.m. London time. That's it from us, my friends. I want you to say thank you all for your time. Merci, Charles. Thank you, Silvia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marco.
De rien.
Thank you, Glauber, Juliana, Andrea, Antonio, Alexandro, Bado. No, I cannot pronounce this. Giervanucci. Okay. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. All the best. God
Thank
bless.
you. Have a good week. Bless you all. Bye.